please be aware that SSB is all about personality assessment. What role as a 18, 20, 16 or 24-year-old boy do you have in your family? Just remember, gentlemen, as candidates, we are not perfect. No human being is perfect. If everybody was to succeed in everything he was doing, then there was nothing to check. You have to do a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And what are the opportunities that are coming in your way? And do you have a girlfriend? What has been? Have you been in a relationship? Are you planning to get married? What do you think of a live-in relationship? These are just some of the questions which interviewing officers are going to ask you. So, candidates, we are here to answer your first question. And your first question is, why personal questions are asked? A lot of candidates are not aware as to why and what we are asking and getting into their personal life. But please be aware that SSB is all about personality assessment. And when we need to assess your personality, we will certainly like to go and ask all questions affecting your personal life. And when I talk about personal life, I'm going to talk about your life which you have spent with your friends, life which you have spent in your school, in your college, what you are doing at home with your parents, with your grandparents, and the time that you spend during your matches, during your fests. And that is what is all about personal questions that we are going to ask you about. And why are we asking you about these personal questions? Because from these personal questions, we are going to get a lot to know about you, about how you handle these personal relationships that you have with each other. Emotionally, how are you able to connect with your parents, with your grandparents, and a whole lot of your friends? And how much fun are you having with them on the cricket field or on any other field? From your personal questions, we come to know what kind of responsibilities are you ready to take? What kind of tasks and duties that you love to do and those that really pull you back? And these are some of the personal questions that every interviewing officer is going to ask you in detail. And this also includes your exams, your studies, how your performance has been during your maybe your school time, during your board exam when you were in a tight corner, maybe during your JEE preparation or your NEET and the NDA exam was clashing with it. And that's where these personal questions are coming for us to help us understand how you handle all this together. And this created a big muddle in your head, creating a little bit of strain and stress on you, and how you took on this whole effort that you put in. And now that you're coming for SSBs, are coming here to the Cavalier, and this is where we are going to prepare you how to answer these personal questions. So candidates, having understood why we are asking you personal questions, we come to the next most important part that we are looking at of handling family questions. And this is a subset of what I spoke earlier of why we are asking you personal questions. And when we are asked questions about your family, you will be asked, tell me about your father, about your mother, tell me about your brother, sister, any other members of your family, or any other close members who are staying with you. Who are you closest to? What are your family problems? And who takes decisions at home? So why are we asking you all these questions? And when all these questions are asked, we are firstly looking at your emotional stability. What role as a 18, 20, 16 or 24-year-old boy do you have in your family? What respect do you have for your family? And what respect does your family have for you? What role do they see for you in the family? And it's also vice versa. What responsibilities are you ready to take? There are crises happening in all families all the time. Maybe financial issues, social issues, and medical issues, and a whole lot of other issues. So we are interested to know how, as a young 16, 18-year-old boy, a candidate, how mature are you? How much involved are you? How emotionally stable and balanced are you? What role are you playing? And that gives us a good idea about how your equation is within the family. So this is extremely important. And also what role your father sees for you, because you are a growing up boy, you're going to become a man at one point in time. And you have a mother to look after. You have your studies to do on the other hand. So these are a whole lot of, the environmental realities in which you are dealing with on a daily basis. And that's why we are interested to know how you're going to handle these family questions. So very simple and keep it straight. You be calm, You be completely at ease with yourself. Be truthful and candid about whatever you feel and however you feel and how you have addressed these issues in whatever small ways that you have done, whether it's an elder sister or a younger sister, whether you've taken her and brought her to the bus stand or any such ways in which you are supporting them. And these will be really helpful to you when you answer these questions for your interviewing officer. So, candidates, I come to a very important and critical part of the interview, a part which normally really affects all the candidates and has a very strong effect on them, which generally we have seen affects their morale. So, what is the question which the interviewing officer is trying to ask? He is asking you how you handled your failure. These are typical questions that he's going to ask you. Why did you fail earlier? Why were your marks in class 12th low? Why did you drop engineering or any other particular exam? Why did you not clear your AFCAT, your CDS, your NDA exams? And he is wanting to know how have you handled failure? So this is an important aspect. Just remember, gentlemen, as candidates, we are not perfect. No human being is perfect. If everybody was to succeed in everything he was doing, then there was nothing to check. But that doesn't happen in real life. We all handle failures, whether it's on a sports field or it's on a academic ground. And this is where the interviewing officer is trying to check certain qualities that you have. How did you accept failure? First thing you always need to remember is be honest. Yes. And take responsibility for whatever the outcome was. And thereafter, once you have taken responsibility, you can explain to your interviewing officer what were the reasons that led to your not doing well in a particular exam. It could have been a good thing, it could have been a negative thing. It could have been that you were also preparing for your class 12 and some other competitive exams that you could not give particular importance to a particular exam, which is perfectly okay and logical. So accept it, take responsibility, and move on. However, remain positive that having learned from whatever lessons you learned when you failed, when you could not achieve it, what lessons did you learn? What happened to you? What do you think what went wrong? Where did you, were you able to analyze correctly and introspect? And what that introspection brought out in you? We are interested to know what was the introspection and why do you think you could not succeed in a particular thing? Not that you failed, you did not succeed. And thereafter, we are looking at what efforts did you put in when you did not succeed, whether it was on a football ground or on the exams or on a play or a match that you did where you try to improve yourself. And from that improvement, we look forward to your succeeding in all these issues. But these are some of the logical points that candidates need to keep in mind when you are handling this question of how did you handle your failures. And the interviewing officer is very, very keen to know how you handle your weaknesses. If you generally look around yourself, you will generally find everybody has some or the other weakness. Everybody is not perfect in everything. So whatever are your weaknesses, we are interested in knowing what are you doing about it. Some of the questions that will fall into your lap is, what are your weaknesses? What are your friends and what are the areas that your friends tell you are weak? Or what kind of situations make you uncomfortable? And what are the types of work that you avoid doing? So these are some of the areas that may be asked to you of how you are handling weaknesses. Most of the time I find whenever this question is asked, most of the candidates say, no, this is not my weakness. And repeatedly comes out that this is your weakness, but you're not ready to accept it. The first thing the candidate needs to do is, yes, accept that you are weak in a particular area. But remember, you are strong in something else also. So you have to do a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And what are the opportunities that are coming in your way? And once you are convinced in your mind and you are able to convince your assessor that this is my weakness, we are looking at how are you working on your weakness. You could not clear your exam the previous time. You understand there was a particular weakness in a particular subject. What did you do about it? Did you study that subject again? How many times did you study? Was there anything else that you could have done? And these are some of the areas that you can focus on to improve your weaknesses. And also remember, your friends, your parents, and everybody around you will keep telling you what your weaknesses are. It is for you to accept that these are my weaknesses and take it in a humble way and thereafter move forward. These are some of the ways you can address your weaknesses. Now we are going into an area where we are going to check your emotional connect, emotional relationship, and emotional balance. And that is checked purely when we are going to talk about your relationship. And when I call your relationship, I'm looking at your relationship with your friends, with your lady friends, with your parents, with your, you have an emotional binding factor with your brother, with your sister, they are elder to you, they are younger to you, to your siblings, to your parents. And these are all the issues that are going to come up when we are handling relationship questions. Do you have a girlfriend? What has been, have you been in a relationship? Are you planning to get married? What do you think of a live-in relationship? These are just some of the questions which interviewing officers are going to ask you. But you have to understand what is the aim of these questions. We are looking at how are you going to handle emotional issues. And especially we find children are closely, emotionally very closely knitted to their parents, and more so with the mothers, the boys, and the girls with the father. So, how is this emotional binding of candidates with either their friends or with their parents? How is it going to affect the armed forces? Tomorrow, you have to serve in the armed forces. You are finally going to move away from all these relationships into a different world. And you will have to sustain those relationships maybe through a phone call. How is it emotionally going to, trigger a little bit of imbalance in you? And how are you going to handle this imbalance? Some of you who have been in the hostel have already maybe handled some of the issues that I am talking of. But these are some of the questions that we are looking for, because we are looking for officers who are going to be extremely balanced in all fields. And the field which we are talking of is relationships, especially having relationships which are very, very sensitive with your parents, with your friends, close friends, and with your siblings. And we need to be sure that you'll be able to emotionally partially move away from them while remaining connected with them. And how are you going to do this? What are the challenges that you're going to fall into? And how are you going to handle these challenges are some of the questions which are going to fall in the lap of the candidates, and candidates need to prepare accordingly for these kind of questions that are going to come to you, especially with relation to relationship questions. And you have to remain very, very calm. You did not get imbalanced, and answer them in a most candid and simple way that you can think of. Handling achievements. Why are we talking of handling achievements here? Short while back, we spoke of handling failures. And when we speak of handling failures and we talk of weaknesses, I think it's time that we also talk of how you will handle, or how are you handling your achievements. I'm sure all of you are equally bright and upcoming, motivated to join the armed forces. And you all have till now some of the other achievement that you have achieved in life. So what are the questions that generally come up? What is the biggest achievement that you have had in life? Why do you consider this to be an achievement? Who has helped you achieve this? And what did you sacrifice for it? So what are we trying to ask when we ask, what are your achievements and how did you achieve this? Basically, we are trying to ask you is, what efforts went into your achieving what you have achieved? And how did you plan to achieve what you achieved? What was the plan? What was the effort? What was the hard work? Where was the determination? Who helped you? How did you help yourself? And finally, when you achieved what you achieved, was it because of you, or was it because of you and somebody else who was working behind the scenes to help you achieve it? It's always teamwork. Whether your match, as a captain, you were playing a cricket match, you won, or you did well in your SSB because of a particular group in which you were studying. So the success is never yours. While yes, you have achieved it, but you should be humble enough to share the success with others who have always helped you in achieving that success. And that's exactly what the question is being asked. Who has helped you achieve it? You were the captain and vice captain. I won the match because I was the captain. Is that so, or is always the team which is winning and it's always because of the team? We have seen so many cricket matches. I know. What did you sacrifice for it? We want to know, what did you sacrifice for it? Tomorrow when you join the armed forces, there's tremendous to achieve. And to achieve, you will always have to sacrifice. And we want to know as assessors whether you will be able to, or you are ready to sacrifice, make those sacrifices, maybe hide your mobile phones for a month, not going to social media and these kind of challenges? Are you ready to handle these challenges just to achieve some success? So these are some of the questions which candidates need to mull over and sit back and think, what were the successes? Why do you think it was a success? And remember, even in failure, there is always success. You may have worked hard enough. It's just unfortunate that you didn't clear out the cutoff. But there was some amount of effort that was put in. And I'm sure that was more than sometimes something that you got last time. So if there's a general increase in the marks that you're getting, that is also an achievement, whether you clear the SSB or not. So those are some of the questions, challenging questions that are going to be thrown on candidates for which we need to prepare you. So here are some of the gems, some of the just thoughts that come in my mind as to what not to do in your personal interviews. And these are very, very important. And we've just flashed them on a slide, don't rehearse artificial answers. Or just let me say what my interviewing officer wants to hear. Don't memorize it personally, and don't fake hobbies and relationships. That's one of the most important things that the IO does not want you to do. He is carrying out an interview to assess you as a candidate who is 16, 18, 20, 22, 24 years old. You are a young man, just come out of your adolescence, class 12. You are brimming with energy, and everybody has walked this path on which you are walking. They know exactly what goes through your mind when you are going through these little, footsteps of your ages. What pranks we play, what mischiefs we do, how much fun we have. We know exactly what we are doing. Bunking classes. These are some of the realities that we have all done in our class. Got punished, stood in front of the principal for some punishment, something we did, and a whole lot of other pranks that either the school teacher caught us or our parents came to know we came late from night. So these are the realities that he wants to hear from you, how you experienced them and what was your, what happened and how did you go through those experiences in life. He does not want to listen to fake answers. He's looking for a simple, humble, straightforward individual who does not lie. So for God's sake, don't fake answers. Don't give names of hobbies, which, even even the thesaurus, you have to go and look into it and look into dictionaries and come out with words like ambivalent or, those confusing high-flying words. Those are not expected from candidates who are of your age. You are supposed to be happy, joyful, bubbling with energy, cheerful, smiling. And those are the things that he's looking for. He's not looking for you to memorize something and say in a couple of sentences just to impress the interviewing officer. Gentlemen, remember, interviewing officers come with great amount of experience, and they also come with great amount of knowledge and, of course, brilliance. So I think it will be naive for you all to consider to memorize anything. Just keep it simple and straight. It's a 40-minute conversation, straight one-to-one answer. Keep it straight. If you know the answer, fine. If you don't know, you can tell him you don't know the answer, but don't, for God's sake, try and fake anything. Keep it as funny and as simple as it can, because these are some of the things that we are looking for. We are not looking for the perfect human being in SSB. The officer that we are looking for needs to be simple, truthful, honest, hardworking, and a dedicated fellow. And that's what we are looking for in the candidates. And I'm sure with all these issues in mind, you will keep, please, for God's sake, do not do these things in your personal interview. Wishing you all the very best.